Now, everybody, here's CBS. Take care.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Key Jackson-Dukakis primary night showdown in Wisconsin. The polls are still open in Wisconsin. Early indications from journalists and political operatives in the state is that Dukakis may be doing very well. Riding on tonight's outcome, Dukakis hoping to fight his way back to frontrunner and stop the Jackson surge. Against that backdrop, the slow count from last night's Colorado caucuses continues. Dukakis ahead slightly. The Associated Press says tonight that he won. Jackson complains that the slow dribble of Colorado results is deliberate mischief by Dukakis backers, much as Jackson says they did in Michigan. CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton is watching how they run in Wisconsin tonight and how they're trying to position themselves for the big one here in New York later this month.
Get out and vote. Cast your ballot today for the next president of the United States.
In Wisconsin, the campaigns were trying to make sure their voters actually voted.
We were trying to push for Jesse Jackson. You care to vote for? You will? Would you want to talk to Jesse Jackson?
Keep hoping. Thank you very much.
And Jackson spoke to supporters at Kenosha, where he has marched with workers protesting Chrysler's decision to close its plant there.
The eyes of the world are upon Kenosha now, because you've stood up. When you stand up, the whole world will stand up with you.
Kenosha is an important symbol for the Jackson campaign. It is here and in other industrial towns around Wisconsin that Jackson has campaigned hard for blue-collar white voters. Without them, he can't win Wisconsin. But while Wisconsin voted, the campaign, in a sense, had already moved to New York, where Albert Gore today attacked his rivals.
Well, I don't think there's any question about the fact that Mike Dukakis has been, for example, absurdly timid in refusing to even spell out differences between himself and Jesse Jackson.
This is the first time I've ever been attacked for not attacking somebody else. It's never happened before. And I think it's absurd. And I have differences with Reverend Jackson. I have differences with Senator Gore.
Gore in New York stresses his differences with Jackson over Middle Eastern policy, courting Jewish votes. Dukakis tells questioners he has similar differences, but does not stress them. Those campaigns will continue. Paul Simon, trailing in Wisconsin polls, acknowledged that if he does poorly there, he may have to rethink his plans.
We're going to do well tonight. If we don't do well, we have to make a reevaluation.
One other note, Wisconsin is a crossover state. Our CBS News New York Times exit polling shows some Republican crossovers more than in the primary 8 years ago, but there's no evidence they crossed to make mischief, to vote for Jackson or anybody else in a block. Bruce Morton, CBS News, New York.
Jesse Jackson has become the focus of more attention and more direct criticism since his recent surge. CBS News chief political correspondent Leslie Stahl looks tonight at the controversy and sensitivities about the blurry line between campaign politics and divisive racial politics.
If white politicians attack Jesse Jackson, will blacks consider it racist? That they will is a fear that to some extent has defined the Democratic campaign up to now.
What makes you better qualified to be president than Jesse Jackson?
I'm not going to answer that question, Ken.
Well, I think that that some candidates, including Mike Dukakis, have been scared to death to say a single word.
Black leaders concede that criticism of Jackson could easily trigger a backlash.
I think to attack him beyond the issues clearly has a racist overtone to it.
It's difficult to predict what kind of criticism will be considered offensive.
You can tell when people are getting venal. You can tell when they really have another message to send, even though they're not actually saying it.
With that kind of subjectivity involved, most of the white candidates have handled Jackson with kid gloves.
Are you asking for a double standard?
I don't think so. If you match Al Gore's brain and Jesse Jackson's brain, Al Gore is not going to win.
But he should come at him with the same fire he went after Dukakis.
Sure.
And the blacks will respect that.
Some of us will.
We're not choosing a preacher, we're choosing a president.
But when Gore said that, questioning Jackson's experience, blacks were furious. Jackson himself canceled a scheduled airport meeting with the senator, and Congressman Dellums, who was outraged, confronted Gore.
I think that kind of attack, that attacks him as a minister or attempts to fan the flames of divisiveness in the black or the Jewish community or black and white kind of issues, then I think, yes, black people are going to say clearly this is racism. And I just said to Al Gore, Al, when it's all over, we're going to need each other.
I'm not going to put one of the candidates in a special category that is treated differently from the category where all the other candidates are. I just think that's ludicrous.
Some blacks want a gloves-off campaign, believing Jackson can whip just about anyone in a debate. But there are also blacks who say any attack, no matter what the subject, will create resentment that'll be felt at the polls in November. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, New York.
Arizona's new Democratic Governor Rose Mofford took the oath of office today. She'd been acting governor during impeachment proceedings against Republican Governor Evan Mecham. The state Senate convicted Mecham last night of obstructing justice and misuse of funds, making Mecham the first U.S. governor removed by impeachment in 59 years. Mecham today said losing the governorship wasn't the end of the world for me. This isn't the end of his troubles either. He still faces criminal trial on charges of concealing a $350,000 campaign loan. U.S. Attorney General Edwin Meese moved tonight to portray himself and the Justice Department as able to take care of business. After failing to get some of his first-choice nominees, Meese tonight finally did name replacements for two key aides who quit amid all the questions concerning Meese's ethics and general conduct in office. CBS News correspondent Rita Braver reports on who took the jobs and who didn't.
In the wake of allegations that the Justice Department is out of control, Attorney General Edwin Meese hastily called a news conference this afternoon to announce two top appointments. For his deputy, John Shepard of St. Louis, a former president of the American Bar Association, and for the number 3 job in the department, Francis Keating, now an assistant Treasury Secretary. Meese denied reports that the White House wanted him to wait for the announcements until security checks were run on the nominees.
I spoke to Howard Baker, and he had talked with the president earlier today, and it was suggested that we go ahead and make the announcements this afternoon from here.
Shepard is replacing a Justice Department official who resigned in protest over the Attorney General's own ethical and legal problems. Shepard says he does not share that concern.
Well, he sees some legal problems too. We all see that, but I see nothing of any urgency that requires prompt action now.
But others apparently were concerned. The Attorney General's first pick for the job, former federal judge Arlen Adams, turned it down, officially because of obligations to his law firm. Associates said he was also concerned about being linked to Meese. And Meese has still not found anyone to head the department's criminal division. The White House vetoed his first choice, James Knapp of the Justice Department, and a former Buffalo U.S. attorney, Salvatore Martoche, today reportedly asked not to be considered. Reporters' questions about the vacancies brought a joking response from the president's press secretary.
Everybody else is a candidate. Any of you want a job, sign up.
The Attorney General leaves tomorrow for drug enforcement meetings in Latin America. Some aides wanted him to stay here and get the department back on track, but he sided with others who believed he'd draw even more criticism if he canceled meetings with foreign leaders. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Justice Department.
More U.S. troops headed for Panama today. Supporters of military strongman Manuel Noriega called it the start of an invasion. The U.S. State Department denied that, but a top aide to President Reagan acknowledged that the administration is looking for, quote, additional pressure that might be brought to bear against the defiant general. Economic, political, and military pressure. Correspondent Eric Ingberg begins our report.
The 1,300 U.S. troops began moving out for Panama today under orders from the president to beef up protection of American citizens, bases, and the Panama Canal. Many are from military police units authorized to carry loaded weapons.
We'll be checking ID cards at gates to ensure that those coming in should be there. We'll be conducting security patrols, driving around to ensure that the facilities are protected and reducing our vulnerability to sabotage.
The newly assigned troops have the mobility provided by 24 helicopters flown to Panama inside giant C-5 transport planes. But the Pentagon says patrols will be restricted to U.S.-controlled areas. The White House decided Friday to Russian reinforcements after Americans were beaten and arrested by agents of the Noriega regime.
Your parents worried about it?
Yes. My mom, first thing she said over the phone, you come back. You know, she's worried, but
Even as MPs boarded planes at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, administration officials claim the economic sanctions they have imposed on Noriega are working.
We continue to examine all other possible options that might be available to provide greater pressure against the Noriega regime.
But some members of the president's own party are openly criticizing the lack of sterner action against Noriega. And Defense Secretary Carlucci has complained that one, Senator Alphonse D'Amato of New York, even called him a coward over the phone. D'Amato, denying he had engaged in such name-calling, said it was the policy that looked cowardly.
The impression that takes place with the Panamanian people is that the United States is less than resolute. You might say that we're kind of wimping out.
Among senior administration officials, there was no doubt the dispatch of 1,300 troops is not the end of the matter. One commented grimly that Noriega is a tough person who has decided to hang on for now, but added, "We'll see how tough he is." Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
This is their destination, a military base cut out of the Panamanian jungle, the biggest American airfield south of Texas. From Howard Air Force Base here, the troops will be deployed to about a dozen American military installations in Panama that make up the U.S. Southern Command, on what the Pentagon calls a security assignment of uncertain duration. But today, more than a month after Panama's president tried to fire strongman Manuel Noriega and was rebuffed, igniting the current political crisis, the arrival of U.S. troops has become a symbol here, a sign of American frustration with a foreign policy that's failed to achieve what seemed an easy objective, removing an unpopular dictator, and a signal the U.S. now is readying a different plan.
Having tried everything else, the U.S. is willing to use military options to attain its objective.
Despite economic pressure, a freezing of assets that forced banks to close and made it impossible for Noriega to meet all the payrolls of public employees, despite U.S. support for strikes and demonstrations designed to put pressure on him, the Army general is stronger than ever, according to most foreign analysts, and Panama's divided political opposition is no closer to controlling events.
Most Panamanians now are simply sitting back and waiting to see what the U.S. is going to do next, thinking that the U.S. will come and solve their problems and that they don't have to.
They should go home or we'll kill them, the chant last night of a ragtag militia practicing in a ballpark, preparing, they claimed, for a U.S. invasion. The government calls them part of a dignity battalion, clearly too small to be a threat, but large enough to make the point that Panama's crisis isn't ending with the arrival of U.S. troops. Richard Roth, CBS News, Panama City.
A former high-ranking U.S. diplomat, Francis McNeil, has told Congress that the Reagan administration knew of Noriega's big-time international drug dealing years ago, but decided to look the other way. He said that was because Noriega was seen as an ally against Nicaragua's Sandinista government. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Susan Spencer on what's being done to get the fat out of the American diet and why. And David Browning on Liberace's Things, an auction that, like the man, is a little much.
You've just been caught knocking off the Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran. What's the most intelligent way to respond?
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Define the word eat.
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Yo, Mom, your shoelace.
Did you eat?
Yeah.
With the crunchy sweet taste of Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran, an open box is an empty box.
Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think. Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. But all-natural Pam no-stick cooking spray adds only 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or all-natural Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
There's one company that knows your home almost as well as you do. So when it comes time to sell, they're the people you should call. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Service.
Excuse me.
No problem. We know about kaopectate, too.
Kaopectate actually absorbs the germs that can cause diarrhea.
Kaopectate bags. The diarrhea specialist.
U.S. law enforcement officials are talking up a big catch tonight in the international world of narco-terrorism. A reputed Central American drug trafficker said to be in on the kidnap, torture, and killing of a U.S. drug enforcement agent. CBS News correspondent Richard Schlesinger reports he may now face U.S. justice.
Early this morning, a man considered to be one of the largest cocaine dealers in the world was arrested in Honduras, and by tomorrow morning he could be in a U.S. jail. Scores of Honduran soldiers actually made the arrest of Juan Ramon Mata Ballesteros, but one American law enforcement source said it was a U.S. orchestrated effort. Mata's wife, who was left behind in their house in Tegucigalpa, blamed the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration for her husband's troubles. In fact, according to sources, it was the United States Marshal Service that masterminded the operation. Since Honduran law prohibits the extradition of Honduran citizens, sources say the plan is for Mata to be taken through the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico before he is flown to New York, where he's expected to arrive late tonight. The DEA considers Mata one of the kingpins in the murder of drug agent Enrique Camarena, who was killed about 3 years ago in Guadalajara, Mexico. Before settling in his opulent house in the Honduran capital, Mata walked out of 2 jails, one in Bogota, Colombia, one in Tegucigalpa. While he was living freely there, he was linked to Honduran military leaders who some U.S. officials believe became his partners in crime.
Mata denied all charges against him and recently told CBS News the U.S. was blackmailing the Honduran military in order to get him extradited. True or not, if all goes according to plan, Mata will soon have to answer the charges against him in an American court. Dan?
Thanks, Richard. Arab hijackers today seized a Kuwaiti airliner. They forced it to land in Iran. From London tonight, Tom Fenton is following the drama.
More than 110 passengers and crew members are reported still on board tonight, including a man carrying an American passport and 20 Britons. Iran's official news agency said the hijackers threatened to blow up the plane if anyone approached it, but Iranian TV pictures show men dressed as ground crew apparently servicing the aircraft. The Boeing 747 left Bangkok yesterday on a direct flight to Kuwait. It suddenly changed course over the Gulf of Oman and headed for Iran. It landed in Mashhad after the pilot radioed he was running out of fuel. One of the passengers, a Jordanian with heart trouble, was released by the hijackers. He said there were 6 or 7 Arabs with guns and hand grenades who herded the passengers into the back of the plane. They threatened to kill 3 of the passengers said to be related to the Kuwaiti royal family. An official on the scene told Iranian TV the hijackers are demanding the release of 17 pro-Iranians held for the bombing of the American and French embassies in Kuwait in 1983. That is the same demand made by the men who hijacked another Kuwaiti plane to Iran in 1984. 2 American passengers were killed before the hijackers were overcome by the Iranians. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
Tonight, the Iranian news agency reported the hijackers have agreed to free some women passengers.
What? I can get my picture on the Wheaties box? All right! Just like the big boys.
Or the bigger boys.
Dad. Me, on a real Wheaties box. And sealed and clear acrylic.
Now anyone can be a big boy. Just send us your picture and we'll put it on a real Wheaties box.
Look for details on the Breakfast of Champions. And picture yourself on a Wheaties box. So tell your mama what the big boys eat.
Presenting the winning performance, the winning look, the winning ways of Buick's great American coupe, the new Buick Regal. Introducing the totally new Regal Grand Sport with a powerful fuel-injected V6 engine, world-class aerodynamics, each wheel independently suspended to grip the curves, and the stopping power of a disc brake at each wheel. The Regal Grand Sport, the newest member of a very Regal family.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
The first time I heard about Dr. Lax was when I was in the hospital
4.5 years ago with the birth of my first child, and my doctor recommended it.
Why is Anne Ruiz so loyal to Dulcolax laxatives?
When I'm constipated, I feel miserable. Dulcolax relieves it, within an hour, and it makes me feel a whole lot better. It's very dependable, and it works right on time.
Dulcolax suppositories can work in 15 minutes to 1 hour. Dulcolax tablets predictably overnight.
Dulcolax makes my life a lot easier. It relieves my constipation, which makes me a lot happier person.
There's a new report out today on the dietary habits of Americans. After a 2.5-year study, a scientific panel reaches an old, sad conclusion. We Americans are eating ourselves into trouble. But it's not entirely consumers' fault. Medical correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
You would think, with all the signs, magazine articles, newspaper stories, that everyone would know not to gorge on food high in cholesterol and fat. But
I think more about taste than I do about long-term health.
I like the taste of butter.
with 34 million Americans already overweight and millions more well on the way to diet-related health problems, the National Research Council today urged that food information and food itself be redesigned.
The proper use of animal products can promote health as well as just being something that people like to eat.
The study finds that consumers have changed their diets, some, but that they need more choices. Among the recommendations, convenience food should contain less cholesterol, sodium, and fat. Labels should be clearer. Forget words like light, lean, natural. As for red meat, the government should change its grading system to encourage producers to cut out the fat. And the industry must forge ahead into biotechnology to find new ways to produce leaner beef.
Consumers can have it all. We think we're on the eve of producing animal products with vastly superior nutrition and health characteristics. And we think that shoppers would be ready to vote with their dollars for these kinds of changes.
But would they? Spokesman for the beef industry wonder, noting that leaner beef could cost more and doesn't always sell.
One of the concerns that has to be addressed in this kind of work is the taste appeal, of course, because if it doesn't taste good, it will not be consumed.
That seems obvious, but taste wasn't discussed much today. The scientific panel apparently confident that in the end, new food and more information would triumph over the natural human tendency to just pig out. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
Soul singer James Brown today surrendered to authorities in Aiken, South Carolina. He denied charges that he'd tried to shoot his wife and had beaten her during a domestic dispute. The criminal complaints were filed Sunday by Brown's wife, who claimed her husband fired 3 shots into an automobile while she was inside and then beat her with an iron pipe. Brown's lawyer said the entertainer is seeking a divorce from his wife of 9 years.
Ann Robbins is about to get a visit from an old friend. Pain. With age, her minor arthritis has made even simple moves painful ones. That's why her next move is to Metaprin. Metaprin has the same medicine as Motrin, and nothing's proven faster for relief of minor arthritis pain or any kind of pain. It's also gentler to your stomach than aspirin. Metaprin works fast when you haven't got time for the pain.
Ann McKenzie, interior decorator for Endust.
Does your furniture have wax buildup? Well, using spray wax too often can cause wax to build up and trap dirt. Use it only occasionally to polish. For day-to-day cleaning, use Endust. It has no wax buildup. Look, after cleaning your best with spray wax, spray Endust. If your cloth gets dirty, you've got wax buildup. So use spray wax only for occasional waxing. Use Endust for day-to-day cleaning.
Look, it's still here after 20 years. Michael loves Sarah.
Nothing's changed. You're as beautiful today as that day I proposed.
I take care of myself.
She eats right, exercises, and takes Geritol Complete with nearly twice the iron of ordinary supplements. More vitamins and minerals combined.
Those were good years. These are the best years of my life.
So, will you marry me?
Again? Yes.
Geritol Complete for the best years of your life.
From Australia and England and Korea, from all over the world, potential buyers and the curious converged today to look at the worldly goods left by Liberace, the entertainer who died last year. He was the man who laughed at himself, who laughed all the way to the bank, and who put on quite a show. In death, as in life, David Browning reports.
You know, I collect pianos and cars and dogs.
Liberace collected just about everything. His houses in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and New York were monuments to flamboyance. At home as on stage, he operated on the theory, more is better.
Do you think anybody will recognize me in this coat?
Today, just over a year after Liberace's death, Debbie Reynolds and some other friends were on hand to open an auction of the entertainer's belongings. 2,500 items. So much, it took two auction houses, Christie's and Butterfield & Butterfield, to put it all together.
Every time we turn a corner and open a closet, more would come falling out on our heads.
The man really was some shopper, wasn't he?
A compulsive shopper.
It is all here. Liberace's cars, his pianos, 13 of them, candelabra everywhere, tea sets, goblets, bric-a-brac and figurines, his mink bedspread. You can bid on his silver fox coat or his white mink coat or his coat made from coyotes. Have you ever seen a coyote coat before?
I have never seen a coyote coat before.
Matter of fact, for auctioneers accustomed to dealing in Van Goghs and Rembrandts, dealing here in paintings of Liberace's mother is quite a change, to say the least. But for Liberace fans, the word for it all is fabulous.
There's a silver mirror over here I'd love to have in my boudoir.
I would say I would probably go as high as maybe 15,000.
He did collect so many beautiful things from all different periods. His homes were in all different periods. So really there's a little bit here for everybody.
The week-long auction could raise $2 million to $4 million, the proceeds going to scholarships for young entertainers. Bring money. Some of the candelabra could fetch up to $10,000 each. David Browning, CBS News, Los Angeles. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. We'll bring you important late results from the Wisconsin primary, and we'll have a recap of today's voting in Wisconsin at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. Till then, Dan Rather. See you again soon.
Having fun with my daughter, Kim. Wasn't always easy for me to do. It's not that I didn't want to. Oh, I did. But sometimes constipation would slow me down. I tried a harsh chemical laxative. They can be irritating or work too suddenly. Well, I found something I could live with. Metamucil fiber therapy. Pure Metamucil fiber regulates you naturally, safely. After all, fiber is what helps keep you regular. But I just wasn't getting enough. With Metamucil every day, I get plenty. So I'm regular now, and I'll stay that way. Gives you a whole new perspective on life. More fun.
Come on, Mom!
Here goes nothing.
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
Heart surgery. To perform it, doctors need vital information. At an IBM scientific center in England, computer researchers and doctors are transforming X-rays into three-dimensional models of a patient's arteries and beating heart. This experimental project is an example of innovation at IBM, and it could be another way computers help doctors save lives.
What? I can get my picture on the Wheaties box? All right! Just like the big boys.
Or the bigger boys.
Look for details on the Breakfast of Champions. And picture yourself on a Wheaties box. Oh, tell your mama, what the big boys eat.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, Jesse Jackson with a post-primary assessment.
Also, a 9-year-old record-breaking pilot on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.